I can't think of a single profession who doesn't need to know about databases. In my opinion, even butchers need to know about databases, let alone fields like computer science, business, finance, accounting. For these majors, knowledge of database is extremely essential. So, what is exactly a database? A database is a system for storing, managing, and organizing data, so we use it when we need it. There are many kinds of databases, like relational databases, NoSQL databases, graph-based, vector-based, and many more. But today, we want to focus on relational databases, like MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, MS SQL Server, and many more. Inside the relational database, data is stored in tables. If you've ever worked with Microsoft Excel or Google Sheet, you know tables have columns and rows. Just imagine we want to store information of students. For teaching you the basics, I'm using Google Sheet. Let's say students have student name, and then the second one is birth date. Finally, we need to know which city they are coming from. Let's also add some values. So this is good. In this table, we have 3 columns. The first one is student name, second one is birth date, and finally we have city. These are the column name, and these are the rows of these tables or records of these tables. Ethan is the first one, and finally we have Emma. Let me just add one more name here. Just imagine we have a popular name, and this person have been born in the same date in New York. And we have 2 exactly same people who's been born in the same date in the same city. To resolve a problem we see here, because we need to obey to differentiate these 2 records, these 2 people. When we are calling John Doe, we need to know which one we are referring to. To resolve this problem, we need to add a new column and calling it student number or student ID and add some values here. Now by adding the student ID, we resolve the problem of duplicate values here. And by this student ID, we are sure when we say John Doe with a student ID of 110, now we know which one we are talking about. As you see here, there are some hidden rows in the information we stored here, we put here. The first one is in the column of city, we can have duplicate values. For example, 2 people can come from New York and also New York here, which kind of the same. I intentionally use NY to teach you something in future. And birth date we have. This can have also duplicated values. Even the student name, John Doe, but student ID must be unique, entire the whole table. So here if we have 2 student number with the same value, then there is a problem here. This can't be possible. This should be unique. Now since we have our table and the information, let's create our table in a database. For this tutorial, I chose MySQL, which is one of the most popular relational databases, and you can install it free and use it. If you want to install it, you need to install both MySQL and MySQL Workbench. In this way, you have a easier way to work with MySQL Workbench. I installed it. Let me switch to workbench environment. This is the workbench environment. First, we need to create our database. For creating a database, we should use create database command. Create database and then the database name. Since we are storing information of students, I chose this name for this database. Let's execute this. And now if I refresh here, we are seeing our university database. Now it's the time to create our table. First, we need to mention which database we are going to create a new table in. And then for this, we should say use. We should use use command, university, and then our create table statement. And here we are. This is the create table command. And then the table name, or this is depending on what you are choosing. For this, I used students because we have a student's information, but it can be anything that you put here. Here is our first column, student ID. Integer means this column can only store numbers. There are more details in it, but for now, it's good enough to know that integer means numbers. Primary key, I will talk about primary key in future more, but the rule we had for duplicate values in student ID, this primary key prevents duplicate value in student ID, and this will be used in finding the students. And the student name, varchar means we are storing characters in a student name, and 50 means the maximum number of characters we can use in values for this column. Let's make it 200. And then birth date, the column type is date. And finally, we have city, varchar characters, and 50 is enough. Let's run. And now we have our table, student table here. We have our table, but the table is empty. We should add some values, add some rows, or add some records in this table. For this, we need another command, which is insert command. Insert into student, the table name, this should be same as here, the table we created, and the columns in the same order that we put here, we need to add also the values. The first row is Alice Johnson, and she's in New York. And the student ID is 100 for this student. If I execute now, we will see an exception. Here it says we already have a table with name students. If you want, because first it execute this one and then it's coming to create table, again it wants to create a table again, we can remove this or we can comment it. In MySQL, for commenting, we use double dashes, and then this is equal to not having anything here. So MySQL from here ignores the lines starting with these two dashes, and then finally it inserts students. Insert a new record. Let's again. Okay, insert successfully done. If I again execute it, you will see again error here, because as I told you, the student ID should be unique because of the primary key. And we want to create another record with the same value, so there's a problem here. It runs successfully once. I comment this again and adding a new one, another ID, another student. Here we have Martin Jackson. Let's execute this one again, and we have 2 rows in our tables. But how we can see these records? For seeing, we should use the select command. Select a star from students. If I execute this one, you see the 2 students we created here. Select is the command name, and then star means all columns, and finally table name. Now we have 2. Let me add one more record here. And here we have John Doe with ID, student ID 102. Oops, I see I made a typo. We have an extra E here. There is a way to change this value, and the command we need to update these records is update command. The update command is this one. Update table name and then set the column name John Doe, the correct one. And finally, we should use varClause to tell MySQL which row we are going to update. In this case, we use the student ID. Let's comment this one, the insert, because we already have the values here. We don't want to insert again, and only execute first update and then select. As you see here, by update command, the John Doe updated, and now we have the correct value. What if we want to delete this record? Let me again comment this one. We should use the delete command. Here we are saying delete from table name, which is a student, where the student ID is 101. And when we execute it, 101 will be Martin Jackson. Let's execute all. So finally we are seeing 2 records because we deleted one of them. For the select command also we can add varClause. For example, we can say var student ID is equal to 102. This should gives us only the record with a student ID 102. This can be also another columns. For example, city is New York. We want to know who is coming from New York. Both of them are coming from New York. So if we have another person, let's add again Martin and change the city to Chicago. If I add this row, here by selecting only New York, we are seeing New York, and then if I say Chicago, we see only Martin. Let's also change this to not equal. This we should use for not equal. And see, it says, give us the students who are not coming from Chicago by this. It's equal and not equal. There are much more details and more things in database I will share with you in the next session of this video. So far, you know the table structure, how to create a table, how to insert new rows, how to update values and delete them, and some basic information about how to select and see the records you stored and using the where clause. In the next session, I'm going to create a new table and make a relation between that table and the student table and share with you more advanced topic about database and MySQL. So please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you.